Hello, so here I am and thanks for joining me here back literally in the RetroVerse on the RetroVerse YouTube channel, and thanks for joining us here again another week. And this episode is a bit of a two-parter. As I've mentioned, this is part one of the expansion of the RetroVerse, but I wanted to show you guys essentially what I've been dealing with, or the space that I'm currently occupying and how it's laid out. As I've mentioned, I am going to level up the RetroVerse by increasing the shelving capacity, because as you've seen, I'm now back to having the Dreamcast games on the front. The PS1 games don't even have its own section, same as Xbox, Saturn, Wii, loads of stuff. So I just kind of wanted to go through, and I'm going to talk you through a little bit about the sections and show off the collection. So this is kind of like a two-part mini game room RetroVerse explanation episode. Unbelievable. That'll never fit in the YouTube title. Yeah. So yeah, anyways, I just wanted to show you essentially the RetroVerse. Now, people had kind of wondered, you know, I haven't done a game room tour this year, and ironically, I'm semi-doing one now at the end of the year. But that's because as I've explained, I'm going to be leveling it up, and I kind of wanted to get a bit of input and show you guys the before, because I'm going to do another episode, so part two of this, where I will essentially be expanding and leveling up the RetroVerse and then showing off the collection in greater detail. But I just wanted to take you through a couple of sections today, and just to show off my collection, as obviously I'm constantly unboxing stuff, picking stuff up all the time, and that's new stuff. But just for new subscribers and new followers, firstly, welcome to the channel and thanks for supporting us by pressing the subscribe button. It really means a lot to us. And for all the old folk, the old squad, just showing off some of the stuff that you may not have even realised that I've got because I don't talk about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go next to each section and just kind of show off a couple of little gems and stuff here and there. So welcome to the RetroVerse and the Game Room Tour Part 1 in this incarnation. Right, so it's pretty obvious that I was going to start in the Dreamcast section, wasn't it? Because that is one of the sort of the main timelines on this channel, is me collecting the full PAL set of Dreamcast games, all 217 of them. I'm currently up to 189, that's right, and I'll be bumping myself up to 200 early on in the new year, with a massive drop, and then the 200th big box game. So watch out for that, as that series will be continuing. But yeah, here it is. So one of the main reasons of leveling up the RetroVerse is to display the Dreamcast games correctly. As you can see, I've now resorted to putting them front forwards like I had previously when I only had two sections. Then what I did is I bumped out the Xbox original section, which was here, for more Dreamcast games. And that's why you can see the Xbox titles on the floor over there. However, I do want to display the Xbox titles because I love the OG Xbox. So again, that's part of the leveling up reason. There's a lot of reasons behind the whole leveling up stuff. Again, you can kind of see I had sort of initially wanted to just bump this section out. So this section is, well, it's currently got the PS1 double case mission games on there, but nicely behind there you've also got 3DO and Xbox One titles in there. And again, people that'll know is I'm a massive lover of the 3DO, and that would be tremendous if it had its own 3DO section, as I do have quite a lot of games. I think I've got around maybe it's 20 to 25, which doesn't sound like a lot of games, but 3DO didn't have loads of games. But yeah, so that is one of the main reasons. Now, I could have obviously just dropped all this stuff out and put these games in, but I don't have enough to fill that whole gap straight away. So that is kind of the reason why I've just resorted to doing this. But when I get the new shelves, one of the main parts will be to drop that out and have the Dreamcast here as a central focal point of the collection, because obviously at some point next year the mission will be complete and I will own a full set of Dreamcast games, and I do think that that is kind of the central focus of a collecting point, even though that collecting mission will almost be finished. I am going to collect other bits for Dreamcast. I'm not going to go into Japanese and American copies because I can't be bothered. But there will be other variants and stuff that I will want to get, such as controllers and memory cards and stuff like that that I've shown on the channel. So it's things like this, you know, owning, and I know I just said I'm not going to collect Japanese stuff, but I literally couldn't turn this down. And again, for me, it's, as a collector, I'm more about rarity and having those unique pieces and talking points, and, you know, to talk to you guys, and as funny as it sounds, to talk to me and kind of like looking at it and admiring stuff, because I genuinely do. And that is kind of, whoa, what a catch. Right. And that is kind of the basis of the Retroverse, is I want to own, you know, unique, rare items. When I find sellers, I'll generally say, have you got any, you know, rare stuff, you know, unique, expensive items, not your general fodder stuff that everybody owns. You know, again, talking points of a collection. Everybody has got, like, you know, the usual games for the usual systems, but then you break out stuff like that and people are like, whoa, what is that? Like, do you know what I mean? So yeah, that is kind of one of the main reasons. Right, so here I've currently got the section of double case games for the PS1 mission. And that kind of love started from, well, one, there's absolute banger titles in double case format on PS1. I've spoken about them before. Tekken, Wipeout, Final Fantasy, Metal Gear Solid, Tomb Raider, Command and Conquer, God, you just go on and on and on. There's 60 titles in that section, and I think I'm currently at 29. I need to start adding a few more in there, mind you, but again, that's going to be a 2026 mission to complete. Probably ending on, as you guessed it, the biggest double case game going, which is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That'll take obviously some saving to get up to, because it's like 500 quid. But it is an absolutely sensational game. Sadly, I did have it and sold it for nowhere near that price. Again, that's going to be a video in terms of the history of myself, because at one point I did have a large collection and I sold it off, unfortunately. And God, the stuff that I had then was unbelievable. And it's certainly probably worth about 10 times more now. So yeah, that would be nice if I could go back and stop myself doing that. But I've got all the PS1 double case games here, which need their own section. So that is, again, one of the reasons why I'm leveling up, to create space to display these, obviously in the right way, so they're not, sorry, so they're like spines forward, as you would normally kind of get. Elsewhere in here, we've got 3DO titles here. Another one there that I picked up, FIFA Soccer. And then you've got the Dreamcast demo disc subset complete there. Down the bottom here, we've got a 3DS section. Again, more PS1 titles here, but normal dual case games. And a couple of controllers. So I wasn't really going for 3DS or DS titles, and I just sort of, to be fair, probably about half of them on the original collection from ages ago, as well as the is it the Black Cosmic 3DS that I have as well, boxed. So I haven't really expanded on that too much. And one of the original ideas was just to bump out this section of 3DS stuff and possibly just put it in the loft, because generally not going to get used, if I'm honest. Right, over to another big section, which, to be fair, I very rarely talk about. Although if you watch 2 episodes in the Mega Haul series of SNES games, you'll see, what was it? It was like 20 games of just like pure gold, like absolute gems. Condition, rarity was just unbelievable titles. And a lot of them are displayed here. So I have one section up the top, another one down here, and another one underneath us here. And if you haven't guessed already, yes, I am sitting on the floor. And as it's a hard floor, it's hurting my arse quite a bit. So I'll try and speed this up. But I suppose, just a little bit of background, the Super Nintendo was, I suppose, my real first gaming love. I remember the day that my dad got the Starwing one, and it was just there on the sort of the cabinet, the TV stand. and me and my brother were like, what is that? And we'd obviously seen it, and again, you see it in magazines, and you've seen it in like Toys R Us and shops and stuff, but you never really had any sort of major exposure to it because obviously the internet didn't exist and you couldn't just readily get information on a new console. Obviously you'd seen adverts and stuff here and there, but you know, nothing too crazy. But yes, I remember that day fondly. I remember playing Starwing, Super Mario World, and in particular my favourite game of all time, which is over here, Zelda Link to the Past. I remember playing that every weekend with my dad when I'd go around his, and it was absolutely sensational. I usually try and make an effort to play through it at least once a year just to relive it. The music, God, the enemies, the bosses, the dungeons, the items, God, everything about that game is just absolutely, you guessed it, tremendous. Yeah, I love that game. Like I say, I try and play through it once a year at least, just to kind of relive it a bit. But this is the SNES section. There's 3 shelves here. I haven't really been picking up SNES games. I've bought one recently, which is going to be in an upcoming video. Again, haven't unboxed it for a long time. But I haven't really been picking up SNES titles. I suppose in terms of expansion of the SNES section, again, titles that I really want, that I'm looking out for all of the time, is Final Fight 2, Final Fight 3, and a couple of other scrolling beat 'em up type base ones. I suppose you could say in terms of the SNES section, I do probably have all of the games that I want. I'm certainly not going to go for a full set like other YouTubers. But I would say that I do think I do have around 80 or 90 titles. And to be fair, you've got all the classics in there. Right, that's not going to work. So I'm now lying down on the floor because I'm at the bottom section here. And again, another massive passion of mine is game guides. So this is the game guide section, which is obviously on the bottom for weight sort of reasons, if you will. And I suppose this is probably only half of the game guides. If you've seen, obviously, in a recent video, N64 Madness video, I got all those little books, which is fair dues, but I wouldn't really massively call them as part of the game guide collection, even though they technically are. But again, they're just little things, they're kind of here and there. They're not like a proper guide. It's because they're unofficial, really, and that's what I'm about, is having the official stuff. But I've got all of these game guides, and as you know from me, the self-proclaimed condition king, these game guides are in at least excellent condition. If they're not, it's because of the rarity of them that I've deemed it as I need to buy it, because you never ever see it come up. One game guide in particular, which I'll show you if I can find it, would be this. Power Stone, the game guide. Now the front cover is in really good condition, but the issues where it comes at, if I can show you, would be the spine there, you can see. So there's quite a bit of damage on the spine, and normally I wouldn't purchase just a regular thing like that, but the front and back cover were in really good condition. It's only the spine that let it down, and I would have put it in the pile to be graded if it wasn't for that fact. As I've mentioned, which I will be doing in 2026, I'll be wanting to send off a big consignment of game guides to get graded, just to sort of preserve them, which I've mentioned in terms of my opinion on grading. I know a lot of people are kind of poo-poo it as to, why are you doing that? You're supposed to, whatever. I do it for a self-preservation reason, and sort of preserving what I would seem, but people might think I'm mental, is a little bit of video gaming history. Again, like the Dreamcast games, I want to get some of those graded because it'll keep them sealed in that condition almost forever. And I think preserving something from 1999, it just massively has a big appeal to me, of owning a piece of history for something that I love so much. But yeah, there's the section that I love, the game guide section, and I do actually go through and flick through them just to check through the artwork at times, just the same as I look at boxes. because I'm all about the boxes, you know that. I'm all about the condition, and I just generally love the old school retro video game artwork on them. Right, and the last section that I really wanted to show off a little bit was the Game Boy section here, which is semi-merged between Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and NES. And again, that's another reason I want to have the NES section with its own, the Game Boy stuff, I want that to have its own section. A lot of it, which I'll show a quick video footage now, which is on the sofa currently. You know, I had those, was it 10 or 12 Game Boy games that were all in unbelievable condition. That was when I unboxed it with this unbelievable condition DMG Game Boy as well. And I want to put them again in the RetroVerse because there's a lot of stuff over there on the other side of the room, which I'll quickly show up after this, which is why I want to expand it. And I probably may even do like a double expansion pretty soon in the next couple of months after the next leveling up. Because again, I've got a lot of stuff over there. However, I will caveat that with a lot of stuff over there is potential duplicate stuff that I may be moving on, such as a big Dreamcast bundle. I'm still very undecided around the Sega Saturn of what to do with that when I won that on a bonus ball. And other stuff, but there is the OG Xbox section there that I do want to put in to a section. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the phone here and I'm going to show you the plans for the expansion and see what you think of it. It's really limited in terms of space and options with what to do here. So right, so essentially in this corner here there is this side sort of slot, which ironically is the exact same depth and width for another Billy bookcase as per usual. What is currently in there, which you can see here, I'm trying to figure out which way to point my finger. What you can see here is obviously all of the N64 controllers as per that last unboxing. I've got my Switch 2, Dreamcast controllers. Generally, this section here is consoles and or peripherals, and a couple of figures there that I just kind of bought for some reason, just because I'm a massive Zelda fan. Yeah, so all of that stuff needs to come out. It is console boxes, like there's the 3DO console box, there's the PS1 console box, some 3DS consoles, and again, like I say, a lot of peripherals. I actually noticed when I was putting these controllers there the other day that I already had the blue, red, and yellow N64 controllers. So yeah, like I say, I went a bit mad with that N64 controller bit, but that is ultimately where the next set of shelves is going to come from. And basically it will mean moving around some of the shelves from here, like I say, that NES section, and of course the Dreamcast section, keeping it there, but moving the bottom part over to there, and having over here the Xbox games and stuff like that. And what I want to do is essentially is moving all the stuff off the front so you can just kind of see it, so it's like a library. Maybe he's only having 1 or 2 games on the front, like, you know, those rare pieces like the Sonic VMU or me graded games, for example. So that's ultimately what I'm going to do. The next expansion from there, I'd have to do a big sort around here, and run it past the missus, obviously. It would be this bit here. So this wall here, again, ironically, there's the exact same width up until the sofa. So that would be where I'll put 1 more shelves in there. But the biggest issue currently in the RetroVerse, which I'm just going to switch it round here, it's this. Behind my head. Where is he? There he is. Get that out of the way. It is the Beast. That's right, the Brock Lesnar of the RetroVerse. The 32-inch Sony Trinitron, which is just an absolute beast. Now, I say this from experience because it took me and a good friend of mine, shout out to Sir Douglas there, helping us carry this in, because I think it weighs around 85 kilograms. If you're into the gym, you'll know how heavy that is. Most people struggle to bench that. But the width and depth of this monster is what makes it difficult to move. You can see I've got the consoles sort of up there. and obviously a lot of them are all plugged in because it's got a lot of outputs. But the mission really, the next level up will be to move this on, as in get rid of it, which I'm very, very on the fence of. And essentially you can see behind here, which is why I put the light on, you can see the kind of the corner there. I could fit another 2 at least shelving units in there, which would put me from a current 3 to having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's doubling the size of the RetroVerse by moving the TV and having the current expansion over here. So that's the plan. Let us know your thoughts on getting rid of the 32-inch Trinitron beast. And I suppose that's it for part 1. Part 2 will be where I expand into this corner. So watch out for that video. It'll be coming up in the new year. I've got some time off over Christmas and I'll be filming it during then and probably launching it in the new year. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this sort of semi-game room tour and part 1, and make sure that you press the subscribe button, like the video, because then you'll find out when part 2 is coming out in the new year. Next week it's gonna be the Christmas special in the RetroVerse, and hopefully Santa's dropped a massive sack load of presents in the RetroVerse. He better. If he does, he'll be getting a hello from me, and that is tremendous, you know it. And I will see you then. So enjoy your week and I'll catch you next week. Thanks very much, guys. Bye.